Hello, hello, hello. How is everyone going? Let's see if this is going live, this is going up. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. We have about 9 seconds left on the countdown. Let me make sure everything's working. If you are here and watching, please let me know that you can see stuff, because I actually haven't done a live Should You Back It before. Not yet. Let me go to my channel, see if everything's working. Uh-oh, project launch commencing. So things are happening. It looks like we are live, good to go. Again, let me know in the chat if everything is on top chat. That's always a mistake. Let's go to live chat instead. Live chat. Nope, still no one. But if you are here watching, let me know. We have 9 minutes and 39 seconds to go until they launch. Well then. Well, that's anticlimactic. That's a... Okay, cool. We got 9 minutes and 30 seconds till they launch. Anyways, let's go ahead and talk about what this is. This is the first live Should You Back It I've ever done. Why is this live? Because, is it because this might be one of the largest campaigns of all time? No, it's not. It's because in about an hour or so, I'm leaving to Origins, and so my options are covering this in a week, or doing a live show in the first half hour. And hey, if there's going to be a time you do a live Should You Back It, this does seem like a good opportunity to do so. Now, in general, just keep in mind, this is not going to be... I mean, first of all, if you're watching this video later, feel free to jump 8 minutes and 54 seconds ahead so you can actually see what's going on. Past that, I'm going to spend the next few minutes hanging out with you, taking your questions. Let me know. Jason P, I can definitely ramble for 9 minutes. Trust me on that. Honestly, I was trying to get this stream up and running 5 minutes before, and I had to tweak some things because I've never done a live Should You Back It. And so we now have 8 minutes and 37 seconds. The real question, here's the thing that's really going to get you. If in 8 minutes and 30 seconds it resets again and says, hey, 10 more minutes, at a certain point, I have to get ready and go. So this is either going to be the first live Should You Back It, or it's going to be a failure, an absolute failure, but not my fault. I'll blame a Cephaloflare or Back It, depending which one you want to look at it over here. A disclaimer as I go through the rest of this video that I do work for GameFound. I'm CMO of GameFound. So I tend to make disparaging remarks about everything and anything from Kickstarter to GameFound to Back It. I tend to compliment where relevant and make comments where relevant, but take that into account as you go through it. Speaking of where relevant, have you noticed Back It Kit's new interface over here? Let's go ahead and open up new Back Kit's new interface. You can take a look over here because they have made changes that I think are definitely a step in the right direction. I think this is a more engaging front page, although it does beg the question what this front page will look like when this campaign is done. When Gloomhaven 2nd Edition, whatever it is, Grand Festival is over, what will the Back It homepage look like? But it does seem to be more engaging than what it was prior. Previously, it didn't capture me as much. Some fun things going on the page. We got recent activity. That's a fun one, getting to see what people backed. I particularly like the pre-order section, but I want to see a degree of filtering around it. But either way, let's go back to Gloomhaven Grand Festival. He doesn't have a video. That's correct, Josh. Dial-in definitely can. I'm going to sit and listen. Josh, I appreciate all of you. You are all the best. But we have 11,669 people partying right now over on the Back Kit. 7 minutes and 13 seconds to go. So let's talk about some things. What are your expectations for this? Oh, and before we do that, because why would we ever want a singular stream of consciousness over here? But first of all, there will be a Should You Back It at some point before this campaign ends. A proper one with full due diligence and research and all those things on the project. Because why wouldn't I? It's going to be one of the larger campaigns out there. Although that leads us to the second question, which is how large of a campaign do you think it's going to be? What are your predictions for this? Frosthaven is famous for being the most funded crowdfunding campaign, a tabletop crowdfunding campaign, coming in at $13 million. Was it 12.9? Was it 12.9? I can't remember. It beat Kingdom Death Monster. I think it was 12.9, but I'm just going by recollection over here. But what do you think this will hit up? Because there are so many factors here that it boggles the imagination trying to predict around it. We have Gloomhaven RPG. How much is that worth? How much money is going to be spent on Gloomhaven RPG? $1 million? $2 million? 3.5? What do you think that ratio is going to be? What about the Gloomhaven miniatures? What is even the cost for the all-in pledge? How much is that going to run you? Because Gloomhaven miniatures can run you an absolute ton of money. I mean, I have no clue what the actual cost will be, but also what's the segment of the population that will go ahead and buy that? Who wants a 14 calyxes full of miniatures? I'm a miniatures fanboy from today until tomorrow, and there's a certain point where it's too much. And when it comes to Gloomhaven, that is too much for me. For me, where I am right now, who knows? Maybe at some point, but it's just not as much for me. But then we have Gloomhaven 2nd Edition. Is the target audience. Now, I am somebody who is a fan of Gloomhaven 2nd Edition. I think it is a good thing that it exists. I think if you're going to be one of the highest selling board games in the world, one of the most popular board games in the world, why should you not have a 2nd edition? Because, I mean, People are entering the hobby every single day. Why shouldn't they have the best possible version of a thing? I believe in updating things. I just played Cyclades. Legendary Edition. I will have I'll have a review coverage up next week for the campaign, and I like it. It is a better version of Cyclades. They took all the expansions, they incorporated feedback. They really just did to me, it's just the best version of Cyclades. Why wouldn't you always want to give people the best version? The flip side of that is, while I believe in why second edition should exist, I also think it's an interesting question of how many of those people who are the target audience for it are actually going to be on this backer kit campaign backing this campaign. I'm very curious about that, because the segment of the people who are coming into the hobby for the first time are probably not jumping into back kit today and backing that game. And how many of you are going out and buying a new revamped second edition because you want it? You can't deal with the FOMO or the aspect or whatever, and so what percentage of the campaign will that be? And then what percentage of the campaign will Frosthaven be? Because Frosthaven, a reprint for Frosthaven, is also going to be present, although you could just buy it online yourself right now. So why are you buying it here? Why are you waiting? Which means we have this giant question mark of how big of a campaign will this be? And the interesting thing is this. Whatever those numbers are, it also doesn't even do much to answer the question of how good is BackKit versus GameFound versus Kickstarter. Again, disclaimer, I work for GameFound, but this campaign could do $5 million, and I would not take that as a negative reflection of BackKit. It could also do $15 million, and I wouldn't take it as a positive recommendation of BackKit. I think that the platform, BackKit, is its own entity and has a lot of campaigns and data behind it, but this is such a giant question mark that I don't know. Like, my personal prediction, by the way, I think 8 million. I think 8 million is what we're looking at here. I wouldn't be surprised if it does less. I would be a bit surprised if it does more. I think there is a degree of fatigue. I think there is a degree of Kickstarter or crowdfunding in general having a little bit of a downturn. And you combine all that with the giant question mark of, yes, 4 separate products being offered here, but that lack of like, what is the, let's go and take a look at the comments over here. Okay, BackKit still looks trash compared to how polished GameFound is. P3 Gaming, I appreciate that. Also, I'm not going to comment on that because I work for GameFound. Francisco, I'm here for Frosthaven 2nd Edition and some miniatures. Enjoy, good luck with that. Frosthaven 2nd? Do you mean Gloomhaven 2nd? There is no Frosthaven 2nd. Or do you mean second printing? Full Metal Dragon, the miniatures alone will bring over 2 million. A reasonable guess? I have no idea. I genuinely have no idea. Jason, I know Megan definitely would be interested in the RPG, but do you? I'm not an RPG player, so could care less. I am interested in the RPG. Not enough to pay for it, because until I start playing RPGs, I'm not going to put money towards them. But yeah, if I'm going to try an RPG, a world that I've spent this much time in, I've spent 150 hours in Gloomhaven, and I spent, another 20 hours in Frosthaven, and then 5-10 hours in Jaws of the Lion. This is one of the most played, in terms of pure hours spent. While Gloomhaven is not my most played game, it is my most hours spent in a game, in a universe. And so, yes, I would happily try the RPG. And I imagine I will get one as a content creator, and I've gotten press copies from Cephaloflare. I imagine I will have an opportunity to dive into it. I am interested, but certainly not enough to spend money on it. Dylan, I'm kind of scared for this price tag. Is the D&D licensing going to push people to the RPG? That's an interesting question, Tim. A very interesting question. Zephyr, the most looking at second edition. Cine, as someone who has way too much Massive Darkness second edition and Massive Darkness 2 and either fields, I feel like I have to take a look at this. P3 Gaming, the only other thing I'm backing this year is Nemesis, barring something really amazing popping up. Jesse, I just got Gloomhaven 1, we'll back 2.0. By the time 2.0, Jesse, you should not do that. Like, why? Why, Jesse? You just got Gloomhaven first edition. Why are you back in second edition? I mean, by the way, if disposable income is totally fine in your end, do what you need to do. That's all cool. We got Full Metal Dragon. I'm in for the RPG and theoretically the miniatures. Joshua, are we partying now? Yes, we are partying. Those 13,631 people ain't got nothing on the 100 people watching the stream. We are certainly the cooler people. We have Full Metal Dragon. If the Frosthaven reprint is the same price as the original Kickstarter, then the reprint will be worth it. It's not going to be the same price as the original Kickstarter. I would be shocked. I'd be shocked. I could be wrong, but I'd be shocked at the same price. But you're not wrong either. Francisco, I'm very conservative towards the numbers, but I would say this campaign will be around 5 million. So, fun fact, Francisco, somebody asked me about 4 minutes before the stream went up, somebody I know in the board game space said, what's your prediction for this, for the crowdfunding? Someone who runs a company, they were curious what I thought, and my instinctual answer was 5 million. I said 5 million. I think it's going to do 5 million. And I was like, you know what? I take it back. 5 to 8 million. You know what? I take it back. Let's go to 8 million. So, I'm with you on my first instinct. My first instinct was lower, but because it's hard to say. If you think of the most funded crowdfunding campaigns right now, the most funded crowdfunding campaigns that we've had this year are what? We have Elden Ring at 4 million, Tainted Grail at 4.4, 4.5. What's done more than that? Is there anything else that's done more than that? I don't think so. I mean, Stalker was potentially up there. Stalker had like 40,000 people following, so it could have gone that way. But it looks like Stalker's going to end at 3.5 million. Oh, we have, oh, no, my gosh. We got, what's it called? We got, is the most funded campaign this year Betrayal of the Second Era? Is that the one that's the most funded? That did what? 4.7, right? 4.7 million was what Betrayal of the Second Era did, correct? I think so, on GameFound. And so I think that's the most funded thing. So the question mark is is the Elder Scrolls Oblivion Betrayal of the Second Era, is that more or less than what this campaign could do? Because that is a question mark that, you know, you have on the one hand, you have the IP, you have chip theory, you have a large price tag, you have a lot of things going towards why Betrayal of the Second Era did so well. On the other hand, you have 4 separate things in the Gloomhaven universe. So my instinctual answer was 5 million, and I adjusted it to 8. And again, platform can be a factor, but it's hard to know in what direction. At the end of the day, you know, Frosthaven definitely got a boost, not just being a #1 game, but then you get that rising crowd aspect, and it starts bringing people in on the platform. When you get to a certain threshold, you can even bring in people on the platform, and we're about to go live for the second time and find out whether this project launch is actually commencing or not. Okay, Gloomhaven second. Alex, have a sip of coffee. Come on, come on. This is definitely a thing. This is definitely a thing right now. This video might be the most interesting. I'm leaving this video up no matter what, by the way. I may retitle it if we don't actually have a project launch. Jesse, Buddy's wife demands to play them all. I don't argue when a Buddy's wife demands additional game nights. You're not. This, by the way, not everyone, just for the record, give Back a Kit a lot of grace on this one. This is definitely not the best project launch, but give Back a Kit a lot of grace. They're going from the amount of extra load they have on the platform is certainly a lot. So let's go to Backkit over here and see what you can get over here. Backkit, what are we going to get? Backkit is crashed. Okay. Well, you're in. Jason's in. I'm not in. Can I get in? Can we refresh over here? Give me some leeway. Give me some leeway. We got crashed as for 5 seconds. Who'd have thought that Backkit wouldn't be able to handle the load? Honestly, it was a question mark. It certainly was a question mark of, again, the problem is this is the most amount of people they've had on the platform in a singular instance ever. It's always hard when you go from here to there. You can't really account for that. So we're just going to go ahead and have fun. This will be the most interesting video. By the way, I'm on a time crunch. I need to leave for Origins. So at a certain point, we'll just give up. This will either be an interesting conversation around Gloomhaven, application error. Okay, we're working on it. Trust me, from all the people who are watching this or engaged with this, the people who are freaking out are not the people on this call. This is halfway entertaining for us. This is very stressful for Cephalofair. This is very stressful for Backkit. On the other hand, they get to say, this is the thing, you get to say at the end of this, you know, and I think, didn't this happen with Nemesis on Kickstarter? The last Nemesis Lockdown on Kickstarter, I believe there were 2 campaigns that launched that day that did really, really well and had a lot of audience, and Kickstarter couldn't handle the load either. This thing will happen, and it will be reframed, rightfully so, of like, this launch was so successful it broke the website, which works to an extent. It's a little trickier because it's a little trickier. Okay, we're gonna keep talking. Okay. Oh no, it's in for 5 seconds. Jason, I crashed. Zephyr crashed. Let me in. They clearly don't have auto scaling their servers. Yeah, this is not. I was all prepped to like walk through a countdown timer, but now I just have a giant question mark. Still going through Gloomhaven and Crimson Scales before I think of a second edition of Frosthaven. I have a cap of unplayed campaign games. Ice of Anger is being painted, and 7 Citadel is coming. Oh, we got Billy Spencer's in. Billy's in. Do you think Cephalofair is regretting this? Kenny, do you mean regretting what? Regretting being on Backkit? I don't know. I don't know what terms they have with Backkit. I don't know if they have a cut on their commission, if they're literally being paid to be there, if they have investment in the platform. I know nothing. It's always a risk for any company to switch platforms. This is what I do all day for GameFound. I talk to companies who are looking to potentially switch platforms, but they have that fear. They have that aspect of, this platform seems like it could be better. This platform is trying to court me, trying to get my business. They might be offering me a slightly better rate than Kickstarter's percentages. And at the end of the day, though, you have that terrifying fear of how much money are we leaving on the table by doing so. That's always an interesting question that, I mean, this is what I do for a GameFound. I talk to creators, I show them the numbers. The numbers generally, it's like one thing I've been debating doing a video on this, but it's tricky because I work for them, so I'm always mindful. But I've been debating doing a video on Kickstarter versus GameFound. And one thing that is interesting is the average relaunch campaign that moves from Kickstarter to GameFound. So if you have a campaign and expansion, and then it goes from Kickstarter to GameFound, the average campaign does 69% more on GameFound on the reprint campaign. Those are good numbers. I use those numbers in sales. Now, a fair question you may not have thought to ask, but you should ask is, okay, great, so it does more, but what would it have done in Kickstarter? So Kickstarter is a little trickier because I don't have all the data, but from the sample size of like 100 campaigns I've taken, the average reprint campaign on Kickstarter does 31% more. So I talk to creators, I show them this data, I'm like, look, here's the practical data. Does it mean your campaign will do better? No, everything's different. We have Guards of Atlantis recently on the platform that went from $200,000 on Kickstarter to $800,000 on GameFound or Euro. It's like it took a magnificent, like a huge leap up when the reprint campaign. But then you had Endeavor, Age of Sail, that did like $500,000 on Kickstarter and did like $300,000 on GameFound. And so you have different exceptions of where a campaign will be, and those creators will obviously be more or less likely to reuse the platform based how something goes. But there is always the fear of the unknown. How much can this new platform take me to new heights? How much can it potentially hurt what I could have brought to the table? And, you know, I don't know what Stealth Fair's motivations were. I don't know how much of it was motivated by a distaste for Kickstarter, a desire for more funding, a degree. I just don't know what the motivations were or if they regretted them at all. I'm refreshing, by the way. I keep refreshing here and there, and it ain't working at all. My guess is they're getting a share of the company. Joshua, I've certainly had that guess, but I have nothing to back it up at all. To me, it doesn't make sense otherwise. GameFound launched with ISS Vanguard. They launched with ISS Vanguard as the premier flagship thing, and it's hard being the premier flagship thing. That's a lot of investment. The part where it's easy to justify is GameFound and Awakened Realms have shared ownership. It's just shared ownership. There's no shared employees. They have shared ownership though, and so that was an easier decision to make for them because they're like, hey, we'll jump in. Oh, we're here. We are here. We are finally here. Okay, we have $91 of $2 million raised. I'm assuming two backers. Start a pledge train. Back the project. Oh, that's fun. That's fun. I like the idea of that. Start a pledge train. That is very interesting. So if you've watched Twitch, then there's the idea of hype trains where you have like a hype train. You know, you keep on donating to your favorite streamer or whatnot, and it starts a hype train. I think it's an interesting idea. I think it has the potential to be a mess if it's not used right. Meaning you cannot have this in everything. I don't know. I think it's interesting. I think it's a very interesting idea. Can you have it going throughout the whole campaign? What are the terms around a pledge train? I think it's a fascinating idea. I like the idea. The execution of it's going to be interesting. Okay, so we are here now. We have two backers, 29 days left to go, $91. We're going to review the campaign page. At least I'm like scared to refresh. Here's the thing. So we're going to go to back it over here. We're going to go back at home page, and we're going to try to go ahead and join the party because I want to see if things refresh, but I don't want to ruin my other page. So join the party. That's not working. Okay, we're going to go back to this tab over here. Just this way I can experiment without messing what we have. We have following, the project will end over here. The pricing is less than expected. I did not look at all. No Frosthaven reprint pledge. They definitely said that there is going to be a Frosthaven reprint, so my assumption is that there's no Frosthaven reprint yet. That's my assumption. We have Gloomhaven, 2nd edition. We have Gloomhaven role-playing game. We have miniatures of Gloomhaven. There will almost certainly be a Frosthaven reprint. They said it somewhere. I recall them saying it somewhere. We have don't refresh. Oh, I'm not refreshing. I'm refreshing on this page over here. This page over here is where we can refresh. It's broken again, isn't it? It's broken again. Okay, we're not refreshing. This week's live stream schedule. June 20th, we have a launch day stream with Isaac at 10:30. That's beautiful. It's amazing. We have June 21st, chatting with Fair. June 21st, Isaac's first RPG session with friends. Fun. Gloomhaven 2nd edition, play with Paula Deming. Beautiful. Paula Deming's fantastic channel, by the way. You should subscribe. Things Get Dicey is the name of her channel, but you can find her on Twitch. You can find her on Things Get Dicey. You can find her on Watch It Played. June 23rd, miniature painting with Tabletop Minions. June 24th, GameCon Canada, Gloomhaven RPG Live, and Fireside Chats. Come join Isaac for Gloomhaven Fireside Chats on Twitch Tuesday and Friday, 4 p.m. to hear about things happening. Backit, projects you can trust. If you've never used Backit, we thank you for joining us. Create an account, pick your pledge level, include add-ons, check out, and manage your pledge after the campaign. After that, be sure to explore all the options of the page and be a part of the fun, but do not refresh. Do not refresh. We have $1, the Bug Slayer pledge. This and all of the pledges will get access to the pledge manager. That's a standard thing. Pledge at $1, see how things go. Whether or not also Isaac will slay a fictional bug in your name, I guess. Past that, I'm curious whether there'll be any difference in pricing. Something you need to be mindful of is very often in campaigns, they'll give you the $1 pledge, but things might be more expensive in the pledge manager. Look into that. Do that due diligence to a certain extent. I'll often look at FAQs. Right now, I'm scared to look at FAQs. Then we have Shopkeeper pledge, $30 for brick and mortar retail stores only. So this is something that actually Austin from Ivy Games talked about this once, and I thought it was a great point. The placement of that pledge is a mistake. Now, whether or not they have control over it, well, this they definitely have control because it's on the pledge. Now, they're sorting it from lowest to most expensive. But Austin from Ivy Games once talked about the nature of price fixing. Price fixing is that as you scroll through the page, the first thing you see that's not the pledge manager access is you see $30, and then you start to think that, well, that's the price of something here. But it's actually not the price of something there. It's the price for brick and mortar retail stores as just a kind of credit situation, but it mentally fixes your price as $30, and then you scroll down, you see $120, and it messes you up. Now, in this case, it's not as bad because if you look at the next thing, you see $30 again for the Gloomhaven RPG core book. So the price fixing is not as bad. Let me take a look at chat. Did the campaign break the site? That'd be crazy. Ryan, it definitely did. Got it working on my phone, not my computer. That crash caused as refreshing for 20 minutes and 5 minutes ago. Kickstarter's a Kickstarter. Everyone knows it. Back has always felt really janky, but I know from several creators now GameFound helps creators a lot more, adds more features. I have a lot of positive things to say about GameFound. I work for GameFound, so we're not going to make that the focus of this video. Successful. Pledge train is a great idea. You see, I like the idea. The execution is going to be very fascinating. Pricing less expensive. No Frosthaven reprint. Don't refresh. $130. How much for all the miniatures. Frosthaven is on there. It's $180, which is less than retail. I believe that's less than retail officially. I don't know what. Let's go ahead and look at what Frosthaven is. Let's take a look at Frosthaven. Frosthaven. Let's see. Because you don't want to do retail. You just want to see how much it costs to buy. Frosthaven. Let's see if I went to Frosthaven with the shopping tab. So I can get Frosthaven right now for $199 from Galactic Toys, $199 from eBay. So Frosthaven at $180. The question is the shipping price. You want to factor that in. So it's roughly on par with the current cheaper options. A big question is when are you getting it? But it could well be a good price point. I found it. Frosthaven for $180. I'm guessing a kidney and a firstborn. Retail Frosthaven is $250. But yeah, you can't go by retail unless that's where you would buy it. In which case, I guess if you're willing to buy it online here, why shouldn't you be willing to buy it elsewhere? That's the question. RPG Deluxe Box Set over here, $90 for the Deluxe Box Set. Now keep in mind, you can use all the various things from your Frosthaven, from your Gloomhaven, for your RPG campaign. So this is one of those things where you're actually getting a lot of game in the RPG just by owning the RPG, if you are someone that has the game systems. We have Gloomhaven 2nd Edition for $130 off $180 MSRP. Again, it's an overall good price point. This is an interesting question because I'm curious whether that MSRP is going to stay the same. Frosthaven's MSRP famously jumped throughout the course of the when the campaign ended to final retail. I don't imagine that happens as much with Gloomhaven, but it could well happen. So it's a question mark, which means if you're like, I want Gloomhaven 2nd Edition, I want to lock it in now, yeah, $130 is definitely not a bad price point. I was skeptical of Frosthaven's price point. I said, wait for retail, you'll get it cheaper, and then the MSRP ballooned. That's one of those times where I was wrong. I did the best I could with the information I had, but I was certainly wrong. So there is always, like, I'm against crowdfunding FOMO as much as possible. Crowdfunding FOMO is inherent in, well, crowdfunding. But the reason some of that FOMO exists is because of things like Frosthaven. You're like, get it now, best price, get it soonest. And it actually was that situation. Other times on crowdfunding, you end up paying $40 more on a freight cost down the road. You wait 2.5 years, you don't see your pledge. So crowdfunding has FOMO, and it does have FOMO baked in, but be mindful of how much you use that because the FOMO goes both ways. Well, not really, that's not true. The FOMO only goes one way. The hurt, pain, and sadness goes the other way. So it has both. Back responsibly when you back things. Don't back based on FOMO. Back based on whether you think something is worth it, and understand there's always a chance things go up. There's always a chance things go down. It is gambling, but in the least damaging way possible, or one of the least damaging ways possible. Playing for jelly beans is the least damaging way possible. Miniatures of Gloomhaven, $130. This gives you the full replacement set of enemy miniatures for the Gloomhaven base game, 1st, 2nd edition. 259 miniatures for $130. That seems like a great price point. That seems like a mind-blowing price point. I'm like, generally, if you're looking at most of these campaigns, if you're looking at a Command Kickstarter campaign, generally the price point you almost want to look at is $1 per miniature or lower. Whenever you can get the cost of a miniature to $1 or less per mini, you're usually doing pretty good. Now, Command campaigns generally can do that, especially when you factor in all the hordes and the mobs and the stretch goals and all those things, but this is definitely a good price point. The miniature quality is going to be a question because, speaking for myself, I haven't loved the miniature quality of Gloomhaven and Frosthaven. I've never really been entranced by the miniatures. One of the reasons it's a no-go for me, but that is a great price point for the miniatures, probably. Shipping and taxes not included. See shipping and taxes for that. Frosthaven, $180 for the second printing of Frosthaven. Again, good price point. Factor in shipping because if you're paying $25 for shipping, which we'll get to shortly, of course, and they have these things in the sidebar. They have the things you can jump down. They may have always had those. I don't remember. Either way, $325 for miniatures, and I'm a big fan of these, by the way. Like, this is something we did on GameFound. A huge fan of this over there. Miniatures of Gloomhaven full set, $325 for 603 miniatures. Again, a great price point. This is going to make, honestly, the price point makes me think this campaign is going to do better than I thought it was, because I think the price point was the main thing that would scare people away, and this is overall, I think it's going to do a lot for them. Ultimate Gloomhaven set. This gives you everything you need to amp up your role-playing. So that's Gloomhaven 2nd Edition and the RPG. And, okay, we got role-playing. Includes Gloomhaven 2nd Edition with Foreteller, Gloomhaven Miniatures base set, and RPG Deluxe box set. That's a whole lot for $350 off of $495 MSRP. Again, the miniatures really are driving price over here. They're really a factor. They're going to be hard to be carried by every store ever. They definitely will be carried because of how popular Gloomhaven is. And we have the big one, $550 for a total of 603 miniatures. So, things going overall well, things are going overall well here as far as pricing. Let's see how the campaign is doing as far as loading. Whoops. Almost loaded my inbox over there by mistake. Backer kit. Okay, there we go. Backer kit. We got this. This is why I should always go on incognito mode as opposed to my regular tab, because I almost loaded my Gmail, which I don't think there's anything that's a problem past, emails. But we have back kit over here. Nothing. Still loading. We have characters. Bruiser over here. Okay, just $1 so I can get a low number for now. 259 miniatures. Looks like they're up to the mini models for the heroes. I'm curious. Have any of you seen the Jerk Sarah miniature? Because I don't know if they changed it, but the Jerk Sarah miniature was not inspiring. Hopefully they changed that. The Bruiser does look great. The Cragheart looks good. These do look good over here. I've seen the art in general from the new Gloomhaven 2nd Edition do overall look good. The Silent Knife. The Silent Knife was not... This was the Rogue, right? Wasn't this the Rogue, or what was it called? The Scoundrel? The Scoundrel. Oh, interesting. So they changed the name from the Scoundrel to the Silent Knife. Now this is interesting because I understand why they changed the Brute to the Bruiser. That makes sense. And the Crag Card's the same. The Mind Thief's the same. The Silent Knife. Is there something wrong with the term Scoundrel? This is genuinely educational. I'm not sure of the negative connotation with the word scoundrel. But the Silent Knife over here, we have the Spellweaver, we have the Tinkerer over here. Okay, so we have, I guess they just don't want inherently negative names. Inherently, a scoundrel and a brute are inherently negative, I guess. So they're trying to avoid that as much as possible. I'm not as, either way, we're going to move on from there. They said they're going to update the Jixura Mini. Good, okay, that's fine. I like that. I'm happy that they do, because that was a bad, I don't think all the miniatures are bad. I think the Jixura miniature was not something to be advertising the campaign with. We have over here, we have more stuff. We have Gloomhaven 2nd Edition Solo Scenarios for $10. We have the 2nd Edition Removable Stickers for $10. We have the 2nd Edition Class Upgrade Pack. That's going to run you $75, which is, basically at that point, you're looking at $130 for the full game, which I guess is why they did that. That is a price point people are not going to be thrilled with, but I'm curious how many people are going to get that Gloomhaven 2nd Edition Upgrade Pack. Basically, this is going to replace all your Classic 2nd Edition, so it's going to save you $55 because you don't spend $130 on the campaign, so you have that aspect there. But at the end of the day, it is still a lot of money, and you're not even getting the fully replaced Upgrade Pack. This is probably why they didn't offer it in the first place. I hope they make good margins on that, because that is, again, I understand why it is this way, but $75 is going to get you the upgrade kit, and you're not going to get everything else upgraded. At that point, I would probably just go ahead and buy the 2nd edition. That's what I would do. I'm curious, if you're in chat right now, and you are somebody who would get the upgrade pack at $75 to save yourself that $55 of buying the entire thing, where you get upgraded map tiles and art and everything and the story and all that stuff. If you're in chat and you're even considering that, please let me know. Even considering, not doing it. If you're considering the $75 upgrade pack, let me know. We have the Fold the Space Foam Organizer for $40. I am a huge fan of Fold the Space inserts in general. My Frosthaven insert is a Fold the Space insert. I think that they are easy to put together. They're generally pretty firm. They don't do as well with hard components. Like, I sometimes put metal coins in Fold the Space things, and I have to be careful that I don't rip things apart, because they don't do as well with the weight. But I love Fold the Space for nearly everything except a drop of weight resistance. Sometimes you have a good wooden insert can be better. We have Alex. There's an add-on for book maps for Frosthaven. No. We're going to get to that in a second. Okay, I'm considering it's money saved. It's still money saved. I'd rather pay the extra to get the full Gloomhaven. Okay, so we got David considering it. Money saved is money saved, but you are losing out on everything else. They did a lot of changes. The character packs are just one thing, so it is absolutely money saved, but it feels like you're paying 2/3 the price and getting 1/3 of the experience. So that's why I am mentally. At that point, just don't upgrade. Why upgrade at all? Because at the end of the day, Gloomhaven was the #1 game of all time for a very long time without needing a 2nd edition. Your current edition is fine. Obviously, I would want the new edition too. I don't disagree with you. Gloomhaven role-playing game, a single unified resource, complete rules, expansive bestiary, we have new immersive lore, detailed cartography, an adventure to start your journey. This is a long campaign page, but we're not going to leave it because we are scared to leave it. We have the RPG, deluxe source book, the tomes of cards, the class tuck boxes, the character sheets, the GM screen, the element trackers. These are nice over here. We have the deck of background cards, the base modifiers. What are these? Provide players with role-playing opportunities and attribute check bonuses. Okay, cool. The base modifier cards for your role-playing, because it's not going to be a dice-based role-playing system. It's going to be a modifier-based role-playing system, which I'm very intrigued by. We have the character creation. This is a lot of RPG stuff. What's different from Gloomhaven? While the Gloomhaven board game offers a highly tuned tactical combat experience, the RPG inserts that combat experience into an RPG framework that allows Gloom Masters to tell their own stories and build their own adventures while allowing players to more fully realize and embody the characters. While the slick combat is there, it doesn't have to be the focus. Players can interact with the world of Gloomhaven however they want. That could be fun. I would love to try it at some point, but I am still skeptical as to whether RPGs are for me or not. We talk about the attribute test, the take, for instance, the plight of Burge Brumble. Let's say Burge Brumble, the Orca Tinkerer, wants to run from a pursuing cave bear, so the GM calls for an athletics check. Burge is not very athletic. He only has a score of 1, and he figures the check is going to be pretty rough because bears are pretty fast. He decides to use his loner background, which adds an extra +2 to the check if no one aids him, which is fine because the rest of the party is too busy running themselves, plus no one likes Burge Brumble. We have, okay, +2 if no one adds. Fun. Okay, the ongoing plight. Once it's decided, Burge flips a modifier card to we have +4. Not bad. Burge's attribute score is now 1, background bonus is 2, and modifier cards 4 are added together for a final value of 7, which doesn't quite meet the challenge and difficulty 8 the GM set, so the GM decides Burge needs to discard 1 card from his stamina pile for the bit of extra effort required. Post-check discards. I can get behind that. Okay, are we done with that? We're done with Burge. I want to know what happened with Burge. Does Burge fall, trip, stumble? I don't know. Role-playing combat sequence. Okay, we got RPG stuff. It's RPG. I'm intrigued. I'm definitely intrigued, but we'll see what happens. Okay, we got the role-playing game, the complete card set over here. We have the role-playing game, just more stuff. We're going to keep scrolling. How's chat doing? Don't like the organizer. I'm curious how this one does. Are Gloomy fans looking for this? We'll see. I'm also considered to the Mercenary pack. I likely only want the Mercenaries. That's going to be a much smaller box than the full game. Fair. Definitely don't leave the page. It's broken right now. No dice rolls. Did I understand correctly? Muhammad, there's no dice rolls to the best of my knowledge. That's my understanding from when they first announced it. And then we got some more miniatures over here. So we got miniatures over here. We got the Quattro City Archer, the Savas Lava Flow, Savas Ice Storm. These miniatures do look pretty good. I do like them. At least the renders look pretty good. The final quality miniatures are always a different conversation. Renders are always the best your miniatures will ever look. Shout out to Lazy Squire Games, by the way, because Lazy Squire is like the only company I know where the renders, like even Command's renders look so much better than the final miniatures, and their final miniatures are good. Lazy Squire is the only company I know that their renders look as good as their final miniatures. I actually have, in fact, fun fact, later today at 4 o'clock p.m., I have a Lazy Squire unboxing for their Wild Ascent Levon Rising for some of the miniatures. You can see the masters. Genuinely, check them out if you are into miniatures. And that pledge manager closes July like 20-something. That closes in mid-July. Make sure to check out that video if you want to get a chance to check them out. But Lazy Squire Games have, in my opinion, the only miniatures that they genuinely look as good as the renders. So that's where, at least as far as general board game companies I've looked at. Mythic has gotten pretty close. Mythic stuff is also amazing. Unfortunately, Mythic. Sun Demon, Wind Demon, Frost Demon, Giant Viper, Hounds, Cave Bear, Spinning Drake, the Rending Drake, the Human Bandit Archer, the Human City Archer, miniatures and miniatures and miniatures. They got some done, some not. We got the Living Bones. This looks fun over here. I am curious to see final miniature quality. I'm very, very curious. We have Jerksura, who they slightly adjusted. It looks like they already made slight adjustments. The eyes are the biggest thing that threw people off, and it looks like they kind of like put her there and just adjusted a bit. I don't know if that's the final version or not, but definitely significantly better than the last one that we had. We have the Betrayer, we have the Colorless, we have the Dark Rider, the Sightless Eye. These overall look pretty good. And we have the Elder Drake. Have you faced off against the Elder Drake in Gloomhaven just yet? Have you? Have you? Does it fit? Does that base fit onto a small, tiny little spot? Because Gloomhaven is designed that everything should fit onto a spot, right? There's no like larger miniatures, are there? I don't remember. That take more than one spot? I don't think there are. Love the FH Summons minis, chain by 125. Okay, Nick Dad, I see this Frosthaven board game for 180, but the pledge I can't find it. And the all-in is also board game Frosthaven. That's interesting. They may not have done it there. We have Gloomhaven Summons over here, so there's going to be more miniatures. The various summons, just all these things over here that will go on the board. These all look great, you know, in theory. We got the Angry Wasp, the Swamp Alligator, the Green Arak Nautil. By the way, I'm going to probably run this for like another 10 minutes or so, but I have to go. I need to go to Origins, and the fact that it took longer to get into here is what it is. We have Forgotten Circles. So Forgotten Circles, that's interesting, by the way. Something I was wondering about, and I probably could have found the answer, but I was wondering whether Forgotten Circles was going to be built into 2nd edition, and it looks like it's not. So, although maybe it is. This is miniatures. I think it's still not. We have the bosses, the Human Commander, the Valith Commander, the Manifestation of Corruption. Again, some looking better than others. That Valith Commander does not look as threatening as I would like. The molding there looks a little cartoonish. We have Jaws of the Lion miniature set over here. 47 more miniatures and stuff. Just more things. Blood Tumor. We have Frosthaven. Just tons and tons of things over here. We got the Lightning Eel, the Living Doom, the Snow Imp, the Frozen Corpse, the Ice Wraith. These all look very cool. The Piranha Peak. I want the Piranha Peak, let's be honest. We have the Lurkid Mind Snipper. We have the Lurker Wave Thrower. We have the Steel Automaton, which we don't actually have yet. It's a work in progress. The Robotic Bolt Shooter. That looks very cool. There's lots of cool stuff here. These will be amazing. The Algox Guard. Those guys are going to look threatening on the table. I want these on my table. I'm just not willing to deal with how much space there is to actually deal with this. Frosthaven and Gloomhaven are already games that, as much as I love them, they lose major points for me personally because of how much work they are to set up. My hours in Gloomhaven have been primarily Gloomhaven Digital, which makes it so much easier. As much as I like the system, there's a certain point where it gets in its own way, and I think this is an amazing game, an incredible experience, and should not be undersold in any way, but also for me, it is a step down compared to some other games because of how much work goes into it already before you deal with the miniatures. Then we have the miniatures team. We have Gloomhaven continuing to scroll. We're not yet done. We are getting to the end. Someone said there's a flip book. I didn't see the flip book. Where's the flip book? Somebody said, where's the flip book? Okay, so shipping. Let's go to shipping. Shipping to United States. I'm going to focus on the United States for this. We'll see how it goes. We have the big one's going to be $80. We have your regular Frosthaven Gloomhaven is going to be $30. So that $180 price point is really $210. Factor that against whatever you can get it online right now, and also factor when you're getting it. So if you are interested in Frosthaven at that $180 price point, just check to see whether you're paying $210 versus what you can get it at for right now. That's going to be the question mark in the air. So I encourage you to make sure you do that math. Obviously, taxes as well, in case you are paying VAT or whatever it is. or of course whatever country you're in as you go through this. United States is not the cheapest over here. We have Germany for 20, UK for 25, Canada for 30. You can see over here a variety of different pledges over here, different options, but United States is not even the cheapest by a long shot. We have the RPG Deluxe set for 20, the RPG Core Book for 12, Miniatures Base for 20, and then Ultimate Gloomhaven set for 70. So a bunch of price points. None of them seem overly crazy to me. They are estimates. Factor that in, so that $30 Frosthaven might end up being $40, and that's only $220. This goes back to the bird in the hand, two in the bush. Do you want it now? Do you want it later? Factor all that in as you go through it. Here we have the United States taxes you're going to have to pay over here. Now, this is one of those things that I don't know how much you know about United States taxes, but in general, United States taxes, the way it works when you pay taxes to buy something online, the way it works when a company has to report taxes is often based on volume, either financial volume, transactional volume, or both. That's generally the way taxes have evolved over the past several years. And so every state is a little different, but you might have, I'm going to make up a state, you might have Utah might be, if you sell $250,000 or 1,000 transactions, either of those, then you have to report taxes as the company selling to Utah. Now, for many creators, that's not something you all have to worry about. Many creators will suck up those costs themselves because they'll sit there and say, you know what, we'll run a campaign, we'll do $1 million in sales, whatever it is, and many of these places we won't actually have to report taxes to just because we didn't hit those thresholds, and that one state we do will suck up that cost so as to not have to incur taxes on everyone as to go. Now, strictly speaking, as a consumer, you're supposed to report taxes either way, but that's the whole thing about online taxes nowadays. That's why Amazon now charges taxes, because they're definitely doing plenty. They have to do that. Versus many smaller sites can still get away with not always charging taxes because they may not be eligible, they may not be required to based on those areas. This campaign is obviously sitting there thinking, and by the way, it's not based on the campaign, it's based on the creator. So Cephaloflare probably does have to report taxes in all these areas, which is why you're being charged all those taxes. We have international over here for the various regions you're in, 20%, 20%, 10%, all those across the board. Do your research on that. And then we have timelines over here. These are obviously estimates. Both things are true. One, Frosthaven did not hit their estimates, certainly overdue, as are many campaigns in general. Also, it was during the course of the pandemic, so take that into account, give them that grace there. We'll see how things go over here. I assume it'll be faster, but in general, crowdfunding campaigns, whether on Kickstarter, Backkit, or GameFound, crowdfunding campaigns, generally their estimates are just estimates, and the way I usually put it is estimates are the number of what you can often expect, assuming everything goes according to plan. So the example, I frequently get this. I used to be in IT and development and in software development, and the example I'd give people is when I say that it takes me 15 minutes to drive to work, I don't mean that the average is 15 minutes. I mean when things go well, it takes me 15 minutes. When there's not traffic, not an accident, nothing that goes wrong, it takes me 15 minutes. But the amount of things that could make my drive to work take 10 minutes are incredibly small. That just doesn't happen. Versus the amount of things that can make my drive to work take 25 minutes, those can happen all over the place. Estimates in most of the time are not based on an average. They are based on here's what happens if things go well. But not everything in life goes well. The factory closes down, COVID, freight, delays in this, delays in that. And so crowdfunding in general, they do give you the best estimates as much as possible, but then things do inevitably go wrong. Most crowdfunding campaigns are late, not all crowdfunding campaigns, and the ones that aren't should receive a ton of praise and positive feedback from the community for, hey, you said a year and you made it within a year. There absolutely should be praise. Most companies do what most companies do, which is they give you their estimate, and then things happen. So take that into account as you figure out, again, if you're saving $20 to get Frosthaven on this campaign as opposed to in retail, just decide when you're comfortable getting Frosthaven, and are you okay with the fact that it may be later than what they say here. And that's basically what we have for the campaign. Let's take a little refresher over here. Let's see if the campaign is loading, because I'm curious to see what the funding total is at, but I don't even know where we're at. The book is called The Play Surface Book. I need to take a look. This is definitely more streaming than Devin does compared to the amount of promise streaming. Devin is a liar and a terrible human being, and he still owes me a 16-hour live stream, and I don't know when he plans on doing it, but I'm offended. $134,000. Okay, so both things are true here. This is definitely not the amazing promised launch that you'd want for, the largest campaign of all time. Also, this is currently platform issues. Right now, the first 40 minutes here should not be taken in any way as a measure of how well the campaign is doing. Let's give it time. We have 29 days left to go. We have 494 backers. I was hoping to pop on and do a live stream for 30 minutes, and I was like, oh my gosh, $3 million raised. I was hoping for that kind of fun and buzz. That's not what happened over here. But again, we got 506 people on the pledge train. Pledge in the next 9 minutes 51 seconds to keep this train going. I like the concept of the pledge train. They need to do more than that. They need something a little bit more interesting than that. Like, is that really an incentive enough? I think you want to see like levels. Like one of the things that's interesting, like Twitch has hype train levels. Again, very cool, very cool. I like seeing innovation in the space. Whether it's Kickstarter, whether it's Backit, whether it's GameFound, I like seeing people do new things because everyone will borrow from each other to ultimately evolve to the best crowdfunding platform. Competition does make things better. Competition does bring a degree of creativity and innovation to the space. Even Kickstarter, which is doing better things than they used to, is doing better things because we have Backit and GameFound in the background. They actually have to be on their toes. I'm a fan of every company having to be on their toes and look at what each other's doing and try to take into account both being their own entities while bringing the best of crowdfunding to the table. That's where we're at. We have Frosthaven Play Surface Book. Where is it? Can I do a Control F? Is that going to work? Frosthaven? Nope, it's not going to work at all. That's nothing. It's all graphics. It's all graphics. Pledge levels and add-ons. Let's go to pledge levels and add-ons. Okay. We got to go to pledge levels. Okay, there's pledge levels. Is there the book? I don't see the book. Where is it? Okay, I'm gonna find the book and I'm gonna call it a day over here. But I want. Okay, we're back to pledge levels and add-ons. You have to select a pledge first. Oh. Well, let's do that. Okay. Frosthaven. Back it. I'm not backing it. Okay, Frosthaven. We got the no. Second edition. Okay. Play Surface Book. Whoa. I mean, that's annoying. I want that. I'd play Frosthaven. Does Gloomhaven have a 2? No. This would make me play the freaking game. I mean, I'm playing the game. Over on Camp Co-op, Professor Meg and myself are streaming through Frosthaven, although it's been on a hiatus because time, effort, energy, and all the things you have to manage. Whoa. Okay, now we gotta go back Gloomhaven. Does Gloomhaven have a Play Surface Book? Back it. Give me the freaking Play Surface Book. Give it to me. No, there's no... Why is there one for Frosthaven but not for Gloomhaven? I want that. Okay, cool. We found something fun. I would like the Frosthaven Play Surface Book, but then you have to pay an extra $50 on top of an already $130 game and not even use the tiles, except unless you get the RPG, then you can go ahead and use the tiles for the RPG, but you can really use the Play Surface Book for the RPG. This is irritating. Also, I know that scenario. This scenario over here, I know the scenario. I recognize it. I'm pretty sure there's like little tombs, maybe not. This is the first scenario. That's why I know it's because the first freaking scenario. We got the wolves on both sides. I thought it was all clever, like I recognized scenario 8. Nope, that's the first scenario. Never mind. Anyways, we are going to go ahead and call it. I would play you if there's a book for it, Alex. Devin, please. I'm not that easy. You got to work for it. Anyways, we're going to go ahead and call this. This has been your stream of Should You Back It for Frosthaven and Gloomhaven? And the answer is a strong, kind of depends, like you'd expect. Basically, we got a few things here. We got I'm going to do a full Should You Back It properly at some point before the campaign ends with a full campaign and all that stuff. But the very short version is you have an RPG, you have the miniatures, you have Frosthaven, and you have Gloomhaven. For most of these things, the price points are pretty good. And you always have to factor in which price points will adjust over time. I would say for Frosthaven, you're probably better off getting your hands on a copy now. I, for the most part, would not recommend backing Frosthaven. I think you can find options that are going to be equitable to the $220 or roughly in that range, and you won't have to wait a year to potentially play it. If you're interested in playing it today, play it today. Don't wait a year. The flip side is that book. That sexy book is sexy, so there is that aspect where if you're waiting for the book, then I'm kind of change my opinion. I take it all back and go ahead and back it and just wait for the book because you'll actually play it. Also, while you're at it, maybe you can even get the miniatures because you can save all that time you have for the book and actually play the miniatures, so there is that aspect. As far as Gloomhaven 2nd Edition, again, you can go ahead and get your hands in it. I recommend your current first edition is fine. It did just fine for a long time. It will be fine. You are totally fine getting more, of course, but your first edition was the #1 game of all time for who knows how long. Save yourself the $130. Save yourself the $75 if you really care enough. Also, there's Gloomhaven Digital, which is my preferred way to play. Got stuck on my voice there. Gloomhaven Digital, which is my preferred way to play, and you'll save even more money by spending $25 and playing it over there. As far as the RPG and the miniatures, hard to say for sure. The miniatures are reasonably priced enough for what you're getting that I assume the production cost will only go up. My instinctive should you back it on the miniatures is yes, if you want the miniatures, I think this is the best opportunity to get your hands on them, and across the course of the production, you can expect to see conversations around which MSRPs increase, similar to the way they did for Frosthaven. And the miniatures are low priced enough that I think that's definitely a risk. So if you want the miniatures, and you know you want the miniatures, and you don't mind waiting that year or two, whatever it's going to take, then I would say go ahead and go for them. Similar with the RPG, although there's less of a risk of MSRP bloat in that case. So should you back it? Depends on the product. Miniatures, yes. RPG, okay. Frosthaven, if you want that map book, otherwise no. And Gloomhaven 2nd Edition, I would just wait. I don't think there's a rush on that one. I think the MSRP is less subject to bloat. And with that, we're going to go ahead and call this a thought. What are your thoughts on 2nd Edition if you don't have the first one? If you don't have the first one, I think you should go ahead and get it. I don't know if you need to back it now. I think the price point will be equitable down the road. For now, I'm going to go ahead and close this off. I am going to head down to Origins. If you are at Origins, I would love to see you at any point. I'll be by the GameFound booth most of the time, but I'll be wandering around the rest of the time. At any point, feel free to stop me, say hi, all those fun things, and tell me whether you're backing Gloomhaven or not. And with that, we're going to call it, and we'll see you again like 2 weeks with a proper should you back it. And until next time, I hope you have a good one.